Welcome back. We are moving on now to look at what's the situation in Egypt a couple of days after the coup that removed the democratically elected president, Mohamed Morsi. What are the lessons that we're likely to learn from there? We're being joined by international relations analyst, Mr. Dapo Thomas. Thank you for coming. Thank you. But just before we do that, let's see this report and an update of what's going on in Egypt.
Egyptian Judge Adli Mansour takes his oath of office as the country's interim head of state. Elected President Mohamed Morsi was overthrown on Wednesday, July the 3rd, by the armed forces for failing to listen to the masses' demand to share power. Judge Adli Mansour was born on December the 23rd, 1945, and graduated from Cairo University with a BA in law in 1967. Before gaining a master's degree in the same field there in 1969, he was hired in the state's administrative court in 1970 and stayed there until he became the vice chairman of the court in 1992. Before moving to the Supreme Constitutional Court, where he served as its first deputy. He became the head of the Constitutional Court in July the 1st by the decree from a top judiciary council that was approved by ex-President Morsi. The security source says Morsi, who was elected a year ago in a vote hailed as a new dawn for the Arab world's biggest nation after the uprising of 2011, is being held at a military facility in Cairo.
Welcome back. Egypt now has an interim president. Mr. Thomas, yesterday we spoke with you about the situation in Egypt and you called it a positive move.
Well, maybe before we start today, we should try and define, try to put an identity on what is actually unfolding in Egypt. Yesterday I called it people's coup, but after serious reflection, and considering the participation of the military and the cooperation of the military, I came up with a name called Millipul coup. Millipul, that's the removal. That I want to say that it's a very positive development. It's unfortunate that it's happening to a democratically elected government, but under the circumstance that it happened, I think we have to commend the military, Egypt military, for being so disciplined and organized. I have been trying to see if I can make a search on this kind of scenario, in history, where a military, organized a coup and will not benefit from it for even a single day. This is the first time I am, getting this kind of thing. He did not name himself as a leader for 1 day or 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. He did not even take control. So I want to say that they are very disciplined as the Indian military. No matter the situation, you won't see them in power.
No, but Dr. Okwe, I think it's also very important that we put this in context. This morning, we understand that there have been renewed protests in Egypt. While a group is rejoicing in Tahrir Square, some other people massively too have also taken to the streets, pro-Morsi, saying that he is the legitimate ruler and that what has happened should never have happened.
Well,
in fact, we understand that they are also planning protests immediately after the prayers this afternoon.
Yeah, putting it in proper context, there is no doubt about it that the Muslim Brotherhood, the major bulwark of the Freedom and Justice Party, is a very popular group, with massive membership. And I would not put it past them that they have mobilized You understand? It's normal in Africa. You have this rented crowd. Now to be able to say, okay, this is a popular action or not, will be difficult, particularly depending on which area you want to look at it from. Is it that you want to be on the side of mercy or you want to be on the side of the military? You understand? So it's very difficult to say, okay, yes, this is popular now. But what I'm saying is that I am not ruling out the possibility of massive mobilization by the by the Muslim Brotherhood. And there is also that fact that being an Arab state, and considering the fact that the Muslims constitute a larger percentage of the population, so there is every likelihood that, well, some people may believe that, look, this is an Arab state, it must be an Islamic state, but it doesn't, it's a misconception. It doesn't have to be. An Arab state doesn't have to be an Islamic state. You understand? So it's the consciousness of what possibly happened or what may slip out of their hands. The Muslims now might have been responsible for this backlash. I have been thinking that, well, I pray that this kind of development would last so that it can be a major reference in history and not just a mere footnote.
But isn't that why we usually have elections? Because oftentimes, now we have started talking about the will of the people. It was the will of the people. The people demonstrated. They told him to step down. They had lost confidence in his government. And the military based their actions upon the will of the people. Now, we are now seeing another group of people equally massive in number. We understand that the numbers are set to rise today, especially after the Friday prayers, also protesting and saying, well, we support this man. We put him there. He was democratically elected, whether they are mobilized or not, because the argument could also have gone for the people who gathered in Tahrir Square. So the question will be, isn't that why we have the ballot box to say, okay, which group of people do we listen to? Should the majority carry the day, and then we truly have the will and the voice of the people?
Okay, let me do a narrative of what actually happened. The man, politically, or let's say electorally, did not appear to me to be popular. Because the first election, the first ballot, he had only 24%. It was as a result of deception, electoral deception, based on the possibility that the Mubarak faction or the Mubarak supporters might embark on a kind of revival, through Shafiq, the one of the a prime minister under Mubarak. So he contested along with him. So during the second ballot, he cajoled the people. He cajoled the other opposition, the other groups, that he was going to form a national government. He would give them this, he would give them that. In fact, he told the Coptic Christians that he was likely to even appoint a woman, a member of the Coptic Christian, as the vice president. So he was desperate for vote. So that was why when he had that, when the second ballot took place, he won 51%. And even 51% does not show popularity based on the joint effort of the other groups. So I would not say it was popular. But be that as it may, it's not that one is advocating for this kind of intervention. Mandate. If they gave him the mandate and they are saying they want to withdraw, and they came out to protest massively, and they mobilized themselves in millions so that at least the military or or the international community can see how serious they were. I don't see why.
Is the military intervention now to drive home the demand of the people? Is that what you're saying?
From what has happened, like I said, the man did not benefit from it. They did not constitute themselves into an interim government. Immediately they announced the Chief Justice.
It's very important to notice that, to note that, yes, they have not benefited from what we can see, but they've also mentioned that no timeline for when the new elections will take place have been set.
No, that's because, number one, the military cannot work for the interim administration, because these are the people that will see what is on ground, and there is no point in to be in a hurry. If it were to be a military interim government, yes, they can be in a hurry because the international community will be protesting. But for a civilian interim administration, particularly the Chief Justice, being in charge, I don't see any need for any hurry. They have to prepare. A planning election is not something that you just say, okay, because you want to satisfy international community or satisfy the people. What it is, it is enough